So what if you could take a massive, multi-billion-dollar industrial crisis and solve it with the phone that's sitting in your pocket right now? Well, today we're going to dive into a system that does exactly that. It's turning literal mountains of construction waste into a seriously powerful economic and environmental weapon.
But before we can really get the solution, you have to appreciate the sheer scale of the problem. For Ontario's huge waste industry, there's this thing they call the capacity cliff. And it's not just some buzzword, it's a real geopolitical threat, and it's looming right across the border.
See, for years, Ontario has relied heavily on Michigan to handle its waste. But now, with new tariffs and major fee hikes coming down the pike, that absolutely essential pipeline is about to get squeezed shut. And we're not talking about a minor inconvenience here. This is a full-blown crisis in the making, one that could totally paralyze supply chains and make costs just skyrocket.
So, how do you even begin to fight back against a problem that big? You don't try to build a bigger landfill. No, you build a smarter bridge, an autonomous, intelligent agent that's designed from the ground up to navigate this exact kind of crisis.
And this is it. Meet the 905 Wood Digital Refinery. Its whole reason for being is to act as the sentient bridge. Think about it. On one side, you've got the total chaos of an urban demolition site. It's messy, it's unpredictable. And on the other, you have the incredibly precise, high-tech needs of a new green economy. Well, this AI, it's the translator. It's the matchmaker. It's really the brain of the whole operation. And here's the part that'll blow your mind. This industrial-scale brain, this engine that's orchestrating fleets of trucks and multi-ton loads of material, it runs natively on a single Google Pixel 10 Pro. The whole thing is powered by that Tensor G5 chip, which is built for exactly these kinds of complex AI tasks, all happening right there on the device. No cloud connection needed. It's just a staggering contrast of scale, right?
Okay, so how in the world does a phone actually manage a physical supply chain? Well, it all comes down to the data. Let's follow a single truckload of waste as it enters the system, and we can see how this digital refinery works its magic, layer by layer.
So, the whole thing kicks off right at the source, the construction site. Before a truck even thinks about leaving the gate, the AI has to make a critical call. Is this load clean or is it a high-risk material? And it has to make that decision in under 2 seconds flat.
And this right here, this perfectly illustrates how smart this system is. It's not just using a camera, it's multimodal. The AI might see wood that looks 99% clean, but its Gemini Nano-powered brain, that's a super efficient AI model that runs right on the phone, also hears the driver mention deck demolition. It instantly knows that deck often means pressure-treated wood, which can contain arsenic, something a camera could never see. And just like that, boom, it shatters the clean score and flags the entire load as high risk.
Now, once that data is captured, it has to be locked down tight. The system uses this brilliant feature it calls hostile UX friction. The driver has to physically press and hold a button on the screen for 2 full seconds. This isn't just a quick tap. It's a deliberate, conscious action that you can't fake. It creates a legally binding record, complete with the haptic buzz you can feel, sealing the chain of custody with hyper-accurate GPS data. Okay, so now that we have trustworthy data locked in, the system can completely reshape the physical logistics. The old way, you just dumped everything at these inefficient transfer stations, where, and this is shocking, 66% of good recyclables still ended up in a landfill. The new way uses that verified data to call in these massive 144-yard trailers, they call them motherships, to bypass those stations completely and deliver high-value material directly to specialized biohubs.
And the system is designed to keep everything moving. Instead of some punitive fee for a truck that sits around too long, it's cleverly rebranded as a $75 a day diversion pass. So it's not a penalty anymore. It's just the cost of occupying a valuable spot in this high-speed network. It's a powerful psychological nudge to keep the assets moving and the material flowing.
So here's the really crucial point. This system isn't just about shuffling trash around more efficiently. It's about fundamentally re-engineering the value of the material itself. It's about turning a liability, something you used to pay to get rid of, into a valuable asset for a whole new economy. And part of that means attacking the old financial model. Traditional waste invoices are a total black box. Just one big, confusing number that hides all the true costs. Well, the 905 Wood system just demolishes that with what it calls decoupled billing. It separates the fixed cost of transport from the variable cost of disposal, giving customers transparent, actionable intelligence they can actually use.
And this newfound transparency is then used to literally change people's behavior. The system taps into a really powerful psychological principle called loss aversion. Turns out, we humans are way more motivated to avoid a loss than we are to achieve a gain. And this system totally weaponizes that.
Instead of just getting a high bill at the end of the month, customers get a missed savings alert in real time. It doesn't say, you could have saved money. No, it says, you burned $240 on this load because you failed to sort it properly. It makes the financial pain of their mistake immediate and tangible, which is an incredibly powerful incentive to do it right the next time. And the payoff isn't just financial, not by a long shot. It's environmental. For every single metric ton of dry wood that the system diverts and helps turn into biocarbon, it generates what's called a carbon dividend, permanently sequestering 0.75 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere.
So, the system has cleaned the material, moved it efficiently, and proven its new value. But how does it actually defend against that capacity cliff that we talked about at the beginning? Well, it takes all of this data and forges it into a digital fortress.
To fight back against those U.S. border tariffs, the system generates an unforgeable certificate of origin. And look, this is not just a piece of paper. It is a cryptographically secure document that embeds 9 different points of data, pulled directly from the phone's secure hardware. We're talking precise GPS, timestamps that are accurate down to the nanosecond thanks to atomic clocks, and the unique ID of the security chip itself. This is data that is practically impossible to fake.
The anchor for this entire defense is something called the hardware root of trust. It all comes down to the Google Titan M2, which is a dedicated security chip right inside the Pixel phone. This chip provides a verifiable, tamper-proof digital signature that proves the data's origin, its integrity, and the entire chain of custody beyond any shadow of a doubt. It is, quite literally, a digital shield built on silicon.
And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought, doesn't it? We just walked through how a regular consumer smartphone is commanding a heavy industrial workflow, solving huge problems from logistics and behavioral economics all the way to international trade. So the question we have to ask is, what's next? What other massive physical industries are out there just waiting for their own pocket-sized revolution?